The Evolution of Emory Tate. When we talk about chess today, it is hard to think that one of the most legendary players in the world of chess is not with us today. You might have guessed who we are talking about if you're a chess enthusiast. Emory Tate, a name that will always be marked with golden letters in the history of chess. His contributions to the field of chess lies not barely in his grade of noteworthy play or even his shining victories, but in his compositions of extraordinary ideas and inspiring ambitions. Emory was a man of many talents and exhibited his emotions in interpreting these exhilarating battles as if he were an actor in a conventional stage play. So if you want to know about the evolutions of this extraordinary man, then do not go anywhere and watch this video till the end. The Tates had relocated from Chicago to Addison, Illinois, and then to Elkhart, Indiana. Emory graduated from Concord High School in Elkhart, Indiana in 1976, where he was a wrestling team member. He chose Northwestern University over Princeton as a 17-year-old to study pre-medicine. Gloriously, the teenage Tate was the only player to defeat Grandmaster and former US champion Arthur Bisguier in a 30-board simultaneous exhibition. A few years later, Tate began to rise as a teen, commuting between Indiana and Chicago to compete. Tate had a rating of 1,797 in the late 1970s when the ratings in the US chess federations were frozen, and it remained that way for 1 year. In the following months, he began to take the scalps of many local masters who had been duped by his deflated rating, and even more so by his prodigious knowledge of silicon. By the time the new USCF database was finished, he had already achieved master strength. Air Force Sergeant Emory A. Tate, Jr. of Fort Meade, Maryland, accepts the first Haskell Small Award for winning individual honors at the 25th Annual Armed Forces Chess Championship Tournament. Tate won the tournament, which took place in Washington, D.C. from September 11 to September 20, 1984 with a score of 8.5 to 3.5. He joined the Air Force after deciding to take a different path in life, and it was there that he began to make his presence felt in the chess world. He created the opening that bears his name while serving in the Air Force. In the 1988 Air Force Championship, he performed an unusual sequence against Paul Waldowski: E4 and F6, E5 and D5, C4 and B6, A4, A5. There is no previous record of a game with these unusual moves. Tate won the U.S. Armed Forces Championship as a senior airman in 1983, sergeant in 1984, and staff sergeant in 1987, 1988, and 1989. He proudly cites this accomplishment as one of his greatest triumphs. Ultimately, Tate spent much time competing in tournaments while in the service. Tate kept his Air Force work private, but he was said to have worked in intelligence and spoke fluent Russian. He frequently astounded Russian chess players who were captivated by his play. They admired him and seemed to believe he had additional insights. After returning from Germany and England, Tate was stationed in Fort Meade, Maryland, in the Washington, D.C. area. It was the locations of his first child's birth. With a growing following, his legend grew, along with nicknames like E.T., Emory Mate, or simply Tate. His hyperactive style and melodramatic post-game portrayals were highly entertaining and educational, and he drew legions of fans. In 1988, he earned his first IM norm alongside another talented black player, Maurice Ashley, at the New York Open. Tate's reputation had grown to the point where he could take credit for his sister Katrinka Trill finding her husband. A man who was visiting the Tate brood noticed a photograph of them. The man shockingly asked, "Is that Emory Tate?" When she confirmed it was, he was surprised. He asked whether she knew him, and she said he was her brother. She said that she met her future husband, who was a fan of Emory. She told him she regularly beat Emory at chess, and he was surprised again and married her. They have been married for 17 years, and he eventually forgave her for lying. The making of a legend. The philosophy of Tateism was born 20 years, 1988 to 2008. Any city in America, particularly those where the blacks played, would be familiar with the legendary Tate. He was a folk hero in the global black community, and he was admired by grandmasters Amonsi Mutoe and Pontus Carlson. He created unique ideas dramatically expressed across the board due to his rejections of the opening theory. His unyielding fighting spirit was evident in all his games, but his epic battle against Maurice Ashley was one for the ages. Next time, Tate's thrilling victory over Grandmaster Leonid Udazin caused quite a stir worldwide, and it was featured in Chess Life magazine and annotated by international master Jack Peters. Then, there are the enthralling Queen Sacrifices versus Grandmasters Gennady Zagalchik, Larry Kaufman, and Nick DeFermian. He has wowed thousands of people with his tactical tricks and spawned an entire internet fan base based on some of his most famous battles. His numerous attacking gems develop a cult following one after the other. He claims to have defeated more than 80 Grandmasters. However, his audacity cost him several games, including a 9-move loss to Alexander Yermolinsky, in which he humorously allowed himself to be checkmated. Apart from his games, Tate found great joy in showing them. It was a theatrical performance when he demonstrated his games. His incisive commentary and creative ideas for a spellbinding lesson were all combined by his gestures, quips, and wordplay. Intermittent triple exclamation proclamations were common. He would sometimes draw 30 to 50 people standing on tables and crane their necks to catch a glimpse. Tate played his games. It was quite a spectacle. The annual World Open appeared to be his most important stage. He spent the last 5 years in the Bay Area teaching chess to school children. Chris Torres, the owner of the Torres Chess and Music Academy, said Tate's instruction with children was remarkable, and he seemed to care about his students. So finally, it was fitting that he spent his final moments doing what he loved. He collapsed on October 17, 2015, after emerging from the bathroom at the Sam Shankland Open. Later that day, Emory Tate's legacy began. Many people have been reflecting on the life of Emory Andrew Tate Jr. recently, and they have discovered several interesting facts about him. First, while many chess players have a wide range of abilities, the chess world is grateful to Tate for his contributions to the game. According to all accounts, the man was intellectually brilliant and complete. He used to read poetry. He was a pianist. He began to sing. He was fluent in several languages. Some people choose a high-profile career to which they devote their entire lives but never have much impact. Some choose a field devoid of prestige and become legends. The latter was such a destiny for Tate. Why did Tate pick chess? We'll never know, but chess may have chosen him. Tate was a decorated chess player who never achieved the Grandmaster title but made significant contributions to the game. He gave everything he had and everything he knew. In 2005, he was inducted into the Indiana Hall of Fame, and he was the state's 6th-time champion. He was also the Alabama state champion in 2010 and has traveled the world to share his craft. Maurice Ashley might have said it best. Emory will be missed. He will, however, be remembered fondly. He was a perfect player, and despite his talent, he never achieved the coveted GM title. But his personality was one of a kind, combining a flair of the dramatic with the steely eye of a soldier. Players like him only appears a few days, months, or years. He was one of a kind and always be remembered with a chuckle and smile. He is undoubtedly challenging Tal and Fisher to a blitz right now. May his soul rest in peace. Let us know your views in the comments below.